Huh? Did Ben Shapiro just invent 2 new genders? Hey guys, I have something that I know you want to hear about. It's about Ben Shapiro talking about who you can and cannot with. Wild, I know, but it's very important. And I think it could be interesting to talk about. So remember when we saw that Andrew Tate clip where he, through the power of misogyny and transphobia, somehow learned about the gender spectrum and then fused together into understanding that gender isn't as gender and sexuality are not as rigid as we think that they are. Anyways, Ben Shapiro saw the clip too, and he thought, you know what this clip needs? My opinion. And so he donned his finest dirty beard and he decided to talk about it. So now we can too. Let's see what Ben has to say. Who knows, Ben may surprise me in good ways or bad ways. I'm not sure, but we'll figure out. We'll figure it out. When he grows out a beard, it always looks so weird, bro. There's something about it. It just looks like his face is dirty. Ben Shapiro. I hate bearded Ben. I do. I also hate bearded Ben. There's something about it. It looks peculiar. It makes me uncomfortable.
Andrew Tate has gained an enormous amount of popularity in the online space.
Women.
But I have to say that his takes on issues, sometimes I think his diagnoses of American society, Western society, sometimes I think those diagnoses are correct. And then sometimes he unleashes takes that are just bizarre and weird and seemingly inexplicable. Andrew Tate, as far as I know, is still being held in jail in Romania. It's unclear how that saga is going to end. He is accused, of course, of sex trafficking, of luring women to Romania and using them as cam girls and all the rest of it. But
if there's anything I would do to women, out of all the things that I have in my mind that I would do to women, luring them, it's not one. I hate that. I dislike it. I would never do such a thing.
All of this is beside the point when it comes to the popularity of Andrew Tate. I've talked about Andrew Tate on the program a little bit before and why exactly he's popular. And one of the things that I've suggested about Andrew Tate is that many of his diagnoses of modern society are not entirely wrong. Many of them, in fact...
Oh yeah, this is their sex chocolate, right? What is the dislike rate? Wait, what's the dislike ratio on this? Wait, that's crazy for a Ben Shapiro video. This is 3 days old too. Wait a second. Wait, what's his take on this? That got people so up in arms. Oh, is it just people just dunking on him as usual? Maybe, we'll see.
Are correct, but his prognosis, his recommendation of the treatment is totally wrong. And this sort of disconnect is strange. It becomes stranger when you see some of the things that Andrew Tate has said recently. So there was a tape that emerged on the Twitters over the course of the last 48 hours of Andrew Tate talking about whether he would prefer to have sex with a male who had had many surgeries to look like a female, but still had not had bottom surgery, meaning he still had the full male appendages.
Bottom.
Or...
Appendage? Bro, I don't think that's what a dick is, brother. I don't think that's the correct terminology for a penis. It's a penis. It's not prehensile. That's not how that works. Hello? Like, I know we're primates, but I don't think you can climb with that thing, brother. It's a vestigial appendage. I don't think that's how it works. Wait, so you're telling me those pictures I've seen of people doing dick ups, they're real? It's an arm now? Wait, I could like pick things, I could like hold my spoon with it? So if I have 2 hands, holy crap, it's just like that Andrew Tate tweet that he made the other day. Remember when he was like,
have you ever really tried to fly? And I mean seriously, this is not a joke. Genuinely, have you ever tried to fly? Of course you haven't, because you've always been told that it's not possible. I do what's impossible. Follow me.
He's talking like a caterpillar to his buddies after they just got out of the cocoon phase. It's crazy. You haven't tried it yet? That's true, I have. I've not tried to fly recently, but you know what? I'll give it a try sometime. I know a local parking garage. Anyways.
A very ugly woman. And I think there is something kind of appendages or a very ugly woman.
Well, no, he wouldn't be a very ugly woman. He would be a man. That's the thing. It's not ugly woman. It's a man. That is a man, sir. If you saw Hulk Hogan, that'd be a man.
And I think there is something kind of important about the fact that there are so many young men who are drawn to Andrew Tate. And then Andrew Tate says,
oh my gosh, I was gonna have a heart attack. I thought he was gonna say something else. I thought he was gonna be like, there's so many young men drawn to, and he was gonna talk about how it's Femboy Friday or something. You know what I mean? So many young men. They've been joking about. I've seen many young men in my audience talking about how much they love femboys, and so many young men attracted to trans girls. I think we need to talk about this. That face, yeah. This is also what they call a shit-eating grin. Is that right? Is that correct? That's what this is. That's crazy.
stuff like this or said stuff like this. It's bizarre. It only makes sense in a particular cultural context. I want to get to that in a moment. Here's what Andrew Tate actually said.
I recently posted a question on Twitter asking, would you rather have sex with a transsexual, which is a legitimate 10, or a woman, which is a legit...
Wait, I need to be careful. Wait, does he say the slur here? Wait, I need to be careful because I can't let him slur post on my content. Wait, I gotta mute this really quick. Wait, he mutes the word dick, but then let's rip the T word? Hello? Wait, he censors dick, but then the actual slur, he doesn't censor? What? Priorities, I guess. All right, I can't. Oh, so this is hilarious. Wait, do you think this would be a good react image? I didn't even notice this. You think this would be a good react? What do you guys think? Me when Romanian police are at my door. Oh! New soy jack. He's going full soy jack. You're right. Is it a good thumbnail image? Possibly. Anyways, I'm skipping this a little bit. You guys have heard the clip, right? I don't have anybody here who hasn't heard the clip, right? If you want to hear the clip, check out the video that we uploaded about it. Yes, I've heard it. Yeah, we don't need to watch it again. Anyways, he thinks Hulk Hogan with pussy is gay, but Megan Fox with peener is straight. Just scoot it. You ever think about that? How you could just scoot it?
First of all, what? So on a variety of levels, what? So the original question that he apparently posed was, would you rather have sex with a 1 who's a woman or a 10 on the female scale, but is male? And so he launches into that bizarre diatribe. Now, none of this makes any sense. If you've been following Andrew Tate at all, and if you understand how popular he is, you understand that what he largely bases his image around is this idea of uber masculinity. And the uber masculinity that Andrew Tate bases his sort of image around is he's ripped, he's very muscular, he has a large house or a compound in Romania, he has a lot of fancy cars, and he has a lot of beautiful women, not transsexual women, but actual like biological women who he is in charge of, and he has a harem of these women. And this is what masculinity really looks like. And then you get this bizarre fetishistic video in which he's explaining that he would prefer to have sex with a male who has had many surgeries to look like Megan Fox than an unattractive woman. So what exactly is happening here? Well, none of this makes any sense. And frankly, none of our modern culture makes any sense. Unless what you realize is the reason that we are seeing the death of masculinity and the death of femininity. The reason that everything is falling into this morass of sexual chaos. And he talks about it actually at the very end there. He says, oh, it's all a sliding scale, isn't it? It's all there's no such thing as gay or straight. It's just a sliding scale.
I don't think he ever said nothing was gay or straight. I think he very clearly said, I think it's gay to fuck Hulk Hogan with a pussy, which is an incredible statement. And honestly, one of the only funny things I've ever, one of the only funny and good things I've ever heard. Sorry, one of the only funny and true things I've ever heard from Andrew Tate, because it is. That is a trans man, brother. Masculinity is when penis. Femininity is when pussy. Yeah, like what if one of them doesn't have it? They just don't have one. Genetic condition. Did they just become a man or a woman, or did they become nothing? Or something? Like, how's that work? Yeah, imagine, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I don't believe Andrew Tate is not masculine. Because he is. He's very stereotypically masculine. Now, is he Is he more masculine than a lot of other people he tries to pretend that he is? That's a whole nother question. But I don't think that he's not masculine at all. He very clearly is. If he didn't have a dick, I don't think that would mean he's less masculine. He just is a non-dick haver. The way you see and perceive people is like far more interesting, well, far more important to your sexuality than their chromosomes that don't play a role in your attraction to them at all. You have a Bugatti? If no, you're no man. Well, it seems like Tate is no man either, because the authorities took that shit from him too.
The reason all of this is happening is because we have a society that has decided to discard the notion of teleology. Okay, teleology means that things were created with a purpose. Things were created with a purpose. Whether by God or by evolutionary biology, you were created with a purpose. Now, I'm a religious person, so I believe that God created us with a purpose. And what that means is male and female, he created them. Now, you don't have to believe in the Bible in order to believe that. You can also believe that evolution created human beings sexually dichotomous in order so that we are designed to reproduce. That's literally the purpose of sexual activity in the animal kingdom, is reproduction. There's the side benefit of pleasure. It is the pleasure that leads beings of all mammalian species to reproduce. But the reproduction is the end, right? The thing toward which sex is generally oriented in the animal kingdom is reproduction, because otherwise.
Okay, let me look this up really quick. Teleology, the explanation of phenomenon in terms of the purpose they serve, rather than the cause by which they arise. No theory we can do without teleology. Okay, so here's the thing. All right, this isn't to say what Ben doesn't understand or purposefully misconstruing here is that people who believe in the gender spectrum, which is just factual, you could just take it up with a scientist sometime. Scientific American has a great article on it. We're not saying that this means nothing. It has a meaning. Everything that we use in society. At the end of the day, one of the biggest reasons, or the biggest reason why we have it and we keep it around in society is specifically so we can use it for some purpose, some end. There's a reason for something. There was a reason for for skull measuring calipers. Those were used for a real purpose, and the purpose was real. Now, it having a purpose and it being useful are two different things. Something having a utility, but whether we want to utilize it for a certain way is a completely different thing. That's where we get into ought statements. Teleology doesn't give us an ought statement either. Something can have a purpose, but it doesn't mean that we need to prioritize that purpose. Evolution doesn't have like a purpose. Evolution is just, it's like gravity. Gravity doesn't have a mind of its own. Gravity doesn't have a purpose. There's no purpose to biology besides, well, actually, no, there's no purpose to biology. Just period. It just is. It's one of those things that just is. But we're not saying that like male and female has no purpose. It does have a purpose. It just serves a different purpose than it does to Ben. To Ben, that's the fundamental truth of all human beings. To us, it's just another categorization for people. And that's actually how like doctors use it as well. Deprioritizing something or changing its utility are just different. The word transsexual is still being used. That's some people have it has some like muddy definition sometimes, but it's still used. Sex surgery is something that exists, and this is not something that we say has no meaning. It just has a different meaning to people who actually listen to science and does not just screech about how angry the world changing makes him because old thing's good, new thing bad. The terms and categories have utility. Yeah, we're just adding extra categories. We're adding extra conditions and terms. That's basically it. Well, actually, that's literally it. And our understanding of things have changed a little bit. It's not even like a wild fundamental change at all. It's just, it's actually very simple. Humans are complicated, but this is not very. It's relatively simple. I'm going to be honest with you. And like this whole gender thing, it isn't as complicated as they try and say that even we say that it is, honestly. Like, we could explain this in a couple of sentences. He just doesn't like it. I mean, you saw this with Matt Walsh when he asked the question, "Can you explain gender?" to that scientist, and when he was answering the question, he just like fell asleep and started. He just fell asleep and started like skipping through everything the guy has to say. What is a woman? Whoever identifies as one. Yeah, it's just refining our understanding of a certain topic. It's not very difficult. It's simple science. Science, we learn more about it, and then the definitions change a little bit.
This would be no different than baboons scratching one another or something. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, if male and female were created to do
Anybody
a thing, and if sex was created in order to achieve the thing, if reproduction and the one flesh union between male and female is the purpose of the thing, then masculinity and femininity are built around that act. What that means is that reproduction, being the point of sex, teleologically speaking, not every time you have to have sex, you're not aiming for a baby every time, but the idea is that generally speaking, sex is oriented toward the production of human beings within a male-female context, because that's the only way biologically.
Flesh union? Yeah, he played too much Scorn. I do dislike the term flesh union. I don't like it at all, if I'm going to be honest. It makes me quite uncomfortable indeed. Who cares about what the point of sex is? You can if you're religious, and that's fine. But that's not biological. That's ideological, by definition. Getting to points in what purpose some things have over others and what we should prioritize is not biological. That's all people, okay? That's all people. The ideas of masculine and feminine would vanish if people vanished. It's a social construct. That's how that works. Those categories would disappear. The categories only exist so far as in they're good for us, and when they're not good for us, they change. That's how it works. I'm not sure if you guys know this. We made roads because roads are good for us. Kind of took it a little too far, at least here in the States, but if we didn't need roads, roads wouldn't be around. You know that, right? We built them. That's how it works. That's how a road works. And like masculinity and femininity, they've changed substantially all throughout time. There are so many places across the world that don't have our definitions of masculinity and femininity. May not even have necessarily something that's exactly analogous to masculinity and femininity, and also could have like multiple genders. India is a country that has historically had more than one gender. America is a continent that has historically had more than two genders. Sorry, India's obviously had more than one gender, more than two genders. That's another one. Lots of places in Africa, some places even in Europe, have had communities and people that have more than two genders. The only reason why we care about this now is specifically because these types of people want to try to pretend like their way of like the world is like the biological truth, and it is the whole truth, the real truth, and there is no other truth besides what I personally believe. Because they hate the idea of just being wrong and not necessarily being not everybody abiding by their way of ruling the world. It's cringe, if I'm gonna be honest.
Historically, it has happened and will continue to happen.
Flesh in the union.
Because of that. So, as I've been talking about right here, it's a weird clip from Andrew Tate. And you know what he needs? I think he needs some, traditional values like marriage and kids.
Oh my gosh, this is an ad read. It's wild to me how like a third of Ben Shapiro videos are just ads. They're just ads. We're getting out of here.
Nature or by God, whichever you choose, in order to bear children and rear them. This is their primary reproductive function, not their only function in the world. It is their primary reproductive function. When it comes to sex, this is the purpose.
Okay, like this is yeah. Ooh, buddy. Ooh. Hang on there, buddy. I've taken a debate class. This is what we call begging the question. All right. Their primary reproductive function. Yes, it's true that in the function of a specific function, that is their function. Yes. If you say that the main function of sex, reproductively speaking, is to reproduce, yeah, it is. I can't disagree with that. If I say, but what will also be true is that is if I say the main function of casual sex is to casually have sex, then that would also be true. I'm sorry. That's how it works. And y'all, sorry, my pronouns are fuck you. My gender is kiss my. Sorry about that. I won't mix it up again. Please forgive. Please forgive. That's not exactly a subtle attempt at framing. This is what happened. This is what I think every time somebody says that Ben is a good debater. He's not a good debater. What happens is that when Ben Shapiro debates, he's typically the one in control of the situation, or the type of person he's talking to is not media trained like him and does not know how to tackle his dialogue tree that he rattles off at people. He's not a good debater. Being good at debate is not when you like get a clip and then walk away and then take the mic from them. If you want to see if Ben is good at debating, look at his debate with I hate Blair White, but look at his debate with Blair White. He gets bodied. Look at his debate with David Pakman. He's a stuttering mess who gets bodied. Ben Shapiro is not a good debater. When he's talking to people who are anywhere near his, look at his like talk with that with that like British reporter. He got so mad he had to pull out the mic and then walk out of the building because he was getting bodied. I'm sorry, he's not good at debating. He's a good debater to people who don't know what debate is and don't know how to do it. Yeah, Andrew Neil. He sucks. He's ass. He's not good at it. Never has been, never will be.
Purpose of sex. And for men, the purpose is to generate offspring and then to protect and defend those offspring. This is not just true for human beings. This is true for primates. This is true for literally all species that have sexual dichotomy.
This is just not, for one, actually, like once again, that's not true. There are many, there are possibly even more species on planet Earth where the male's only job is to come and then die. That's it. Hey bro, ever heard of an ant? You ever heard of an ant? Yes, we all know that when it comes to an ant colony, the protector of the ant colony is the male ant. After he flies in, comes, he spends the rest of his time defend. I remember, like you ever see that every time you accidentally step on an anthill? If you keep your foot there for long enough, your foot will slowly get lifted up. It'll be like that scene from God of War 2018, and it'll fucking just throw your foot off of it. You'll fall to the ground, you'll look up and you'll go, huh, what's that? Standing there, huge, jacked, with his absolute looking, and you can see his flesh bulging from his exoskeleton, the male ant there to whoop your ass. It's like when Tom made the Giga Milk for Jerry. Instead of killing him, it made him stronger, and he's just there ripping pots and pans in half. Then he picks you up and throws you across the yard. He does that thing where he holds you and then spins you like a Mamma Mia pizzeria and throws you across the yard. It's crazy. And then he flies up and he goes, and stay out. Happens every time. It happened to me once. Got into a fist fight. That's how I got these scars. If you think I look bad, you should see the other guy. Anyways. Praying mantis. That's true. The praying mantis male does come and then just gets eaten. He just doesn't know what he's talking about. I can only say that some things are misspeaks so many times until I'm just like, bro, has no clue what he's talking about. Does Ben believe it's immoral to have sex with an infertile woman? Speaking like, I don't know, maybe like wacky Orthodox Judaism, possibly. I'm not sure.
Attached to them. And so sex and masculinity and femininity were built around these roles. And that's really important because one of the things that we have done is we've exploded those roles. We've now disconnected the idea of sex from any sort of teleology. There's no purpose to sex other than whatever subjective pleasure it brings you.
That's just untrue. It's just not true. People still have babies. What are you talking about? We don't no longer have babies. Just people don't want them all the time. And that's okay. That's fine. Just because some people stop doing a certain thing doesn't mean it's now disappeared off of society. It just doesn't work like that.
When you disconnect sex from teleology.
Also, masculinity and femininity are loosely connected. They weren't necessarily built around. They're loosely connected. They're very loosely connected to sex because gender is very social and sex is biological. I'm sorry, there is no pants and there is no bootcut pants and frilly skirt jean. Okay, there is no makeup and unwashed face jean. There isn't. It's not real. It doesn't exist. Baby girls are not born out of the womb with a full face of makeup. I hate to break it to some guys around and who may be listening to this. Yeah, they're not purely a sex thing. They're like loosely connected. They're like connected to a 10-foot long chain. They are connected, absolutely. Not completely connected. No, they kind of float by themselves and move by themselves, as we've seen society move.
Things go wrong really, really quickly, and you end up with bizarre videos like this one from Andrew Tate and a lot of the other societal problems that are plaguing Western civilization these days.
What?
When you get rid of the teleology of male and female, when you get rid of the purpose of male-female sexual bonding, which is reproduction and then rearing and defense of children, and those have sex-specific roles because women treat children differently than men do. Women have to actually have the child in them, and women have to actually nurse the child. Women have to comfort the child in the early going, for sure. And men have to be out there protecting and providing.
Hello? Ben, hug your child challenge and possible difficulty? This is so weird. Whatever happened to, like, you have to emotionally provide for your child as well. Like, what are you talking about? This is what's wrong with these people when they say, and this is the problem with the idea of this like teleology cringe. I don't even think he's really using the word right. This is the problem with the cringe, is where you believe that these things, these social constructs have such like definite, concrete, and irrefutable meaning, then you feel like you shouldn't and or can't step out of them without like causing some like evil ripple in the universe that like ticks down the timer of when the world explodes or something, right? There's no reason for you to not step out of these boxes when it suits you. The boxes only exist for you to be happy. If they don't make you happy, leave. If they don't make you happy, discard them. We don't need them if they don't improve our lives. These things are not here to control our lives. They're here to improve our lives. It's the same, these reasons, these oughts in the world are only here to provide us with happiness and provide us with like healthy lives. If they do neither of those things, then we should get rid of them. You shouldn't think of them as you needing to clock in for work every day. You should think of them like food on a plate. And I'm not talking about food on the plate that your like girlfriend's mom made, where you feel bad not eating everything because not only did they invite you to their home, but you also want to make a good impression, and you also don't want to like not like waste the food that they put on your plate for you, and so you eat it anyways even though you don't like it. And you go, and then when the quiet in the room happens, and then her dad goes, so how do you like the food? Carol spent a really long time on it. You go, yes sir, it's absolutely great, incredible cooking. What, you're such a beautiful mom. Now I know where Amber gets it from. And then they go, and then she goes, shucks, I'm not that good. You know, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. Just push it over. All right. Like Andrew said to do with the dick, just push it over. Just scoot it over. That's all you need to do, and keep walking. Scoot it over and keep walking. Don't lie to me, boy. This shit's ass. Throws the plate across the room. And you're talking to the. Oh, it's great, sir. Absolutely great food. You're so right. This food is trash. It's terrible. I'm joking. I'm messing with you. Yeah, I know it's actually ass. And you're like, and then the mom goes, yeah, we put liquid ass in the food. We know that shit tastes like shit. Why are you lying to us? Leave my house immediately. Oh no, wait, no. You're like, I thought I just added a special spice to it. I liked it.
Masculinity and femininity are built around these basic realities of life. When you sever that connection, here's what happens. On the one hand, you have people who demand that now that the connection between sex and reproduction has been severed, all the rules go away. Right? You can do whatever you want, and the only thing that actually matters is sexual pleasure.
Nobody said that.
But there's a problem with that. The problem is that the animal instincts remain. the evolutionary biology animal instincts remain. And those animal instincts end up making you either quote unquote sexist or fetishistic. What I mean by that.
Huh? Did Ben Shapiro just invent two new genders? Sexism or fetishism? Sorry, guys. You think you love your partner? Sorry, it's one of the two. Sexism or you're fetishizing them. There is no in between. There are two genders, sexism or fetishism. What the fuck? What the what? Wait.
Animal instincts remain. The evolutionary biology animal instincts remain. And those animal instincts end up making you either quote unquote sexist or fetishistic. What I mean by this is that if you take all of the rules of tradition and you remove them from their teleological context, if you take all of the rules of marriage, which promoted, for example, chastity before marriage and outside of marriage, if you promote rules that suggest monogamy between two people, if you do all of that stuff, but you remove it from the context of, in order to create a family unit to provide for biological children, if you get rid of that, then all of that starts to sound really sexist. And this is what women are having a real problem with these days. A lot of feminists are having a real problem.
This is the most insane thing I've ever heard. When you care about every single part of a woman except for her pussy, that's sexism. That's what he just said. I hope you know that. Which is wild to me because as a well-known woman enjoyer and well-known woman respecter, I have spoken to women before. Unlike Ben, I speak to women relatively often. And one thing that I've known is that what women love is when you only think of them as baby making machines. And that's it. The girls love it. They swoon. You wake up and you're like, hey Karen, how the eggs doing? And they're like, oh, just where they were yesterday. He's so dreamy. Like that. Girls love that. Oh man. When you're on a date and the first thing you have to say when you both sit down is, so we having sex tonight? Girls love it. It's their favorite thing. Fuckhole, I'm home. Now, before the bottoms start like coming in, before the bottoms who want to be chained to a urinal and picked up, thrown across the room and slammed into a wall, okay? Not you. You don't get to comment on this, okay?
This meme is very real.
So if you were thinking about dropping your like spicy, not but me, wait, but actually, stop. You can delete that message that you're writing in my chat and you can stop, okay? You're not a part of this conversation. Calm down. You've had enough time horny posting all over your social media, okay? It's enough. Get a job. Go to your room. That's true. Clean it too while you're in there, because I know that shit dirty. Sick of these people. I feel like we have to, like, guys learn this every single day, even though they should know it already. Like, women are more than people you can have sex with. There's more things that you can do with and to women than have sex with them. And honestly, they really appreciate it. They really appreciate it when you don't like care about only those two things happening. They really, really like it when you do more than just that or want more than just that from them. They actually really highly appreciate it. This is so weird to take one of the most sexist, misogynistic things that women deal with, it just in like societally outside of like violent crimes that they deal with, which is only being thought of as their reproductive capacity. It's gross to try and spin it as some like pro-woman take to think of them primarily as their when it comes to their breeding capacity. Shut up, Ben.
Problem with this because they still have the same biological drives as women.
Your eyebrows are more
had,
full than your brain.
Actually be with a person that they trust, a man that they trust. This is the general biological drive of women over time. Otherwise, human beings would not exist generation to generation. Women have had a drive to be with a man that they trust in terms of protecting, providing, and yes, sexual comfort, because that's true by every statistic. Wanting to bear children with that man. They still have those drives, but they feel that it's sexist to have those drives, and so they attempt to sublimate them, and anyone who promotes those drives is now considered sexist. Or
the woman understander has logged on. Guys, we've done it. The woman understander has logged on. That, as well as he hasn't even answered the question that Ben has. He hasn't even answered the question that like Andrew Tate has posed. You know what's wild here? That apparently Andrew Tate is more good faith to this question than Ben Shapiro is, because Andrew actually answered it and gave a genuinely pretty good answer, all things considered. outside of the misogyny, transphobia, and slurs. But like Ben just completely dodged the question and talked about his nerd shit for like half of this video. A third of it was reading an ad, and then the other third of it was just playing the video, which is remarkable to me, if I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, you know it's bad when Andrew Tate is more reasonable than you. It's quite sad indeed. So I you know what? If I ever was in a conversation with Ben Shapiro, I would ask the question. Which one's more gay? Perceiving a trans man as a man and having sex with him, or perceiving a trans woman as a woman and having sex with her? Which one's more gay? Answer the question, brother. Megan Fox with a dick or Hulk Hogan with a pussy?
Alternatively, you end up with the fetishistic, which is what Andrew Tate is doing with this video. Because again, if sex is now disconnected from the teleology, then secondary sexual characteristics, your fetishistic idea of attractiveness, is now the only important thing about the sex. Now, human beings have been fetishistic for all of time. Human beings have wanted to have sex with a wide variety of things, for a wide variety of people, wide variety of types for a long, long time. That's nothing new. What is new is the idea that when you separate sex from its purpose, what you end up with is bizarre questions like, is it better?
This is also not what fetishism means. Fetishism is when you like hyper focus in on something other, and like a sex standpoint is when you hyper focus in on something other than their sex organs. Which, let me tell you, I know some gay people, and if there's anything that they love more than saying slurs, it's sex organs, especially the one that's seen as male. They talk about that shit all day. They do be loving them sex organs. Lesbians, they do be loving them sex organs. They love them a lot, if I'm going to be honest, from what I've seen at least. My fetishism is prehensile. My fetishism appendage.
Better to be attracted to the secondary sex characteristics of a transsexual Megan Fox, which is what he's talking about, or to primary sex characteristics. Now, the normal teleological answer to Andrew Tate's question is, you have sex with a woman because you can only, if you are a man, marry and produce children with a woman. Right? That was the original answer. When you get rid of that, then you end up in weird Andrew Tate world where he's talking about moving aside male appendages.
Yes, when the federal government doesn't throw you in jail for marrying somebody that they deem as okay for you to marry while they're like a legal consenting adult. Sure, I guess. Hey, have you guys noticed that when the state steps in and threatens you with lethal force to do something that you don't want to do, that you typically do it? That's crazy. That's wild, man. But yes, but when you get rid of bigotry and forcing people to do things that you want them to do, even though it doesn't hurt people, they do their own thing instead. Wild.
In order to have sex with transsexuals, or you end up in a very chaotic place. And you can see this in what Andrew Tate says very often. It's kind of fascinating when you see that Andrew Tate is operating in a context where the teleology of sex no longer applies, but he is still attempting to apply the old rules. He sounds alternatively to feminists, sexist, and to other people, fetishistic. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is
okay. You know what the really funny thing is that like Ben actually got bodied by Blair White back in the day. Blair White actually beat him in a debate, and he had to. It was actually quite interesting.
My argument would be, I did the Michael Knowles show over at you guys' studios a while back, and he was sort of expressed to me that he was sort of feeling conflicted with the person he was sitting and interacting with, and the fact that he, has the same stance as you typically on pronouns. And the thing that came up was, well, if you and I were to go to a business dinner or any kind of dinner, and you were meeting me at a restaurant, and I was there first, and I was in an orange shirt, and you had to tell, the host, I'm here to meet my friend Blair, and they said okay, and you had to describe me to take me to the table. You wouldn't say the man in the orange shirt, you would say Blair, you would say her over there. So for me, it's about sort of real world application of it. The thing that I hate the most is being expected in these conversations to sort of suspend my reality of how like social interaction really works outside of the debate. So what do you feel about that?
I think there's some truth to that, meaning that I think that there is a utility to the use of pronouns, but that's not quite the same as suggesting that a transgender woman is a she in the objective sense. So if I were to go to dinner...
Objective she? Yo, chat, I got any objective she's in chat? Hey, I got any biological she's in chat? I love words. They mean whatever I want, whenever I want. That's the craziest thing about them, in an objective sense. The thing is, it's a social construct, brother. The word she could mean any literally anything. We could just change what the word she means. And in some ways we have, and in some ways we haven't. That's the big thing, is that a lot of conservatives try to say that we've like really highly changed the definition of these things. And at the end of the day, in a social context, absolutely not. You don't interact with people's sex organs while they're in the real world. You don't like say hi to your friends by like squeezing their balls. You don't like say hi to your like female friend by like slapping her labia and being like, "What's up, girl? Nice to see you." That doesn't happen. In the real, you don't know. And you don't either. You, man, I'm sick of you people. That's why you're single. You know what? You're getting banned for that. I hope it was worth it. Fuck you. Anyways, yes, like I really don't think it changes that much. In every way, Blair is a woman socially. In every way. If you didn't know that she kept her Vienna sausage, you wouldn't know a thing. Sorry.
With you, and there were to be a waiter there, and I were to direct the waiter to you, obviously we would go based off your physical appearance. But the argument for transgender people is that if you looked like me, you could still be transgender woman, right? That you wouldn't actually have to go through surgery, you wouldn't have to actually go through hormone treatments, you wouldn't have to go through any of that to be perceived as a woman. And therefore, if it would actually be assuming pronouns for me to be sitting at dinner and you to walk up and say, "That dude sitting over there," right? You'd actually be assuming my pronoun if I were a transgender woman. And this is the part where it gets into this really bizarre space.
This isn't bizarre. Nothing. Ben loves doing this, where he talks about something that's not weird and not bizarre, and then he calls it weird and bizarre. This isn't weird and bizarre. This is really normal. If you see somebody who looks like a man, you call him he. If you see somebody who looks like a woman, you call them she. It's not very hard. And if you're wrong, then they'll just correct you. It's not that hard. That's not confusing, that's not complicated, and that's not bizarre. If I see somebody in real life, I'll think it's okay to like offer them a handshake to greet them. But if they don't like handshakes, you know what they'll do? They'll do it they'll do it anyways, because they have social anxiety and are not strong enough to be able to let a new person know their boundaries. So they just like do it anyways and then get mad about it and then tweet about it on their private Twitter later. But that's a them problem, not a me problem. But if they're not weird like that, then what they'll do is they'll be like, "Oh, actually, could would it be okay, like the shoulder bump or something, or just like hands up high, or like fist bump or something, or like a forearm bump, something along those lines, Instead, it's fine. Small assumptions are fine. They're okay. They're fine. There are like no trans people there are no real trans people who aren't like 12 and are like baby feminists who just like doom scroll on Tumblr all day, who get mad about the idea of you having a preconception of somebody and then just rolling with it until they like say they're not comfortable with that, and then you move on with your life. And then you just move forward. It's not very hard.
That makes no sense to me, meaning that obviously in terms of utilitarian effect, you're right. If I were to walk into dinner and try and describe you, you look like a woman, therefore to the person there, I wouldn't be trying to explain who you were or your background, because what's the point of that? I want to get...
Yeah, what Ben would do, he would be like, her, and then he pulls up a picture of her dick and then shows the waiter. And you're like, that one right there. And then he goes, "Why didn't you say that originally?" Shut up, Ben. Yes, of course. Oh, shut up, Ben. It's wild. Even Blair had to convince him on this. That hey, in the real world context, yeah, this wouldn't be something that you'd be doing. Another L for Ben. Another day, another L for Ben, as the world typically goes. I hate that guy. He's so dumb. And this is the reason why he doesn't do real debates. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there. If you're enjoying the content, hit the subscribe button. If you don't, it'll make Boo very sad. I know a bunch of you who are watching are not subscribed. Join the frenzy. You won't regret it. Thank you, Boo.